Okay, guys, here we are. It's the Honeydew Carpenter. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some ideas that I've been having as I've been working through this project of building this aircrete shed. And most of you have been following along, but if you haven't, each one of these panels represents an aircrete panel that will be sewed together at a later date. They are all encased in a form. I was using sheet metal studs as a form to make these panels and to pour it into. Here's the basic building and the basic layout of the panels. Now, that being said, let me go into another screen here, and I want to talk to you a little bit about some ideas for some alternate forms for those panels that I've been thinking about. Now, this panel right here, this one right here, I'll highlight it in blue. Well, I think I will. There we go. It is one that we have been using. Essentially, the sheet metal studs that we are using look just like that. And you guys, in a prior life, I used to work for an architectural sheet metal company, and we had all sorts of roll forming machines. And we would manufacture anything from gutter systems for homes to different styles of roofing panels and wall panels on these roll formers, and every roll former was unique. So just know that when you go and buy these sheet metal studs from the Lowe's or wherever you get them from, they are made on a roll former, and I'll show you a little bit about that as well. Now, I was thinking about doing some tongue and groove type panels, so when you put them together, that they would just kind of go together like a Lincoln log set, and they would look a lot like these ones right here. So I just highlighted that one. This is a female panel, and this is a male for the tongue and groove system. So essentially, I have some examples right here. If I back it up a little and move them over, of ones I've drawn up, and I've just kind of virtually poured the aircrete into them. So these have the forms on each side, and there's no form on the bottom, because you would just cover that with a C-channel on the bottom and on the top, and that's what would kind of sew them together. Now, that being said, hold on, let me see. We could just bring these together, and I'll just show you what they look like when they're kind of pulled together a little bit. Okay. So they would just fit together just like that. And let me pull another one over. And I might as well. I don't know how many I drew on there. Oh yeah, there we go. I'll just pull those all together real quick. And this is something I've been thinking about as an alternative way to build these sheds. And the reason I've been thinking about it is I just want a way that's kind of quick and easy for people to do it. So essentially what you'd end up with is a wall. Oops. Is a wall that looks like that. Now, if I tip that wall up, essentially it would look like that. And then on the top side, of course, it would look pretty much the exact same as the bottom side. Now, once you got the first panel up and just put kind of an angle brace down to your slab, you could just stick the other ones right on it. And of course you would have in the bottom of it, let me get that turned around. There we go. But on the bottom of it, you would have a C channel that was essentially, instead of the way I was thinking before, you would just take some rawls or some expansion anchors and anchor a C channel along your slab and just lay these in it and then slide them together. I was also thinking about possibly in the forms, while you're pouring them, I was thinking about putting some holes, like similar to this right here, like putting a hole right there that went all the way through. Let me push that in. And what that would accomplish is you could take some like 3/4 inch or inch PVC and stick it all the way through your wall system before you poured it. And you could put a release agent on it that kept a nice little film between the aircrete and whatnot. And then after it had set up, you could just pull that out. And when you went to put these panels together, you could either put some tensioning cables through there and tension them together, or if you put some more holes in the center, spaced evenly up through here, you could run conduit and wire for services. And because it's aircrete, you can just drill right into where the holes are, and you could be able to put all types of things in there that way. So that was just an idea. Let me see. Undo. I want to undo that hole because it's. So that's something that I was thinking about. Now that being said, here, let me pull the shed back up. If these were tongue and groove panels, it would be really easy. Like on these headers, you could go ahead on these panels that line a window or something, and you could put say a mail piece of mail form on the top of this panel, and then put, the female side down on this header panel, and it would just lock right in over top the window or over top the door, and it would make those details go together like a Lincoln log really easy as well. And so it's just something that I was thinking about. Actually, I had been thinking about it for quite a while, and I was at Harbor Freight the other day returning a auger head, and one of my viewers was in there. Actually, about 6 or 7 were in there. It was weird. But we got talking about this, and he asked me if there's any way I could do a tongue and groove, and I said, actually, I've been thinking a great deal about that. Now, I talked a little bit just a minute ago about roll formers, and I want to show you some examples of that. And the particular one that I've chosen, I kind of chose it for a reason, because this is one that was fabricated in a shop, and I used to work for a fabrication shop. This is definitely something that isn't outside the scope of my talents, I'll tell you that much. But this is them going through the system of building a roll former. Now, the stands up here on the side are just all the braces for the fulcrum points of all the axles that would go through and would hold the actual machined formers. That would be these rollers in there. You see they've got the chains that go from axle to axle, so they all turn at the same rate. and there's a better view of it right there. But the reason I'm showing you this one is they just home built, or they built it in the shop to make specifically studs. Now here they put the guard on it and they've got the drive motor down there. But as you watch these studs being made, they start out as just a flat piece of sheet metal. And I'm going through this in quite detail in case someone's never been around this type of machinery. I have operated it for years and years, so it's not that big of a deal to me. But you take that flat piece of sheet metal and it comes out the other end a sheet metal stud, almost identical to the ones that I am using right now to form up the wall panels, with the flat sides. That being said, it would be real easy to build a machine like this and just augment the rollers so that it formed them in the shape that I was just showing you on the previous clip. Now, this one particular machine doesn't have a full coil on it and just run continuous, and then have a break at the end where it can just cut things to specific lengths. So I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to show you one that is really similar to one I used to operate, that we built gutters out of. And here this one is, it's running off of a coil, meaning there's a big roll of sheet metal. It could make 1,000-foot long continuous piece of this. So as it goes through and it goes through the different rollers, each one just folds it a little bit further and a little bit further, and then when it comes out the other end, it's the exact perfect shape of a gutter. They have little machines like this that you can put in a trailer, and guttermen use them all the time and whatnot. But the only reason I'm showing you this one is because I want you to see at the end they have a hydraulic shear on it, and they can shear these sections of gutter to the exact length that they need them. But as it comes out the other end, it comes out the perfect shape of a gutter, and then it has a hydraulic shear, and so you can shear these things to the exact length that you need them. And here's another good example. The thing about it is what I would like to be able to do, and I've actually invented an aircrete machine that has a conveyor belt that runs Portland cement out of a big hopper, and all the dry ingredients as well, and homogeneously mixes them, and then takes them on a conveyor up into a mixing solution with water and paddles and mixes it. And then once the slurry is mixed, it's immediately sucked into another barrel where the foam is folded into it, and then a negative pressure at the bottom of that barrel sucks the completed foam out. And these are pretty large barrels, so they'd be about 80 gallons at a time. And the way it would work is while the positive pressure was pushing the aircrete out to pour all these panels, you would be mixing a whole nother batch behind it, so it could continuously make about 20, 30, 40 gallons every 10 minutes. I mean, it would just be a continual flow of aircrete. So essentially you could take like all these panels and just lay them out, put the here, let me pull up these. You could take and put these, you could lay out all of your forms the right width apart. The ones that were male and female would be married together in the middle, and you could just sandwich them between a form piece with some form release on them, basically in the exact shape like these are now. Let me give you a better look at that. And you could like lay this wall out, and you could pour that in a matter of minutes. And so my whole idea is, and this is one of the big reasons I really want to do the Kickstarter and get an aircrete laboratory and a shop up. It's so that I can experiment and I can build these form machines that would make these types of forms, and then I could draw up and put together different kits for different sizes of sheds, and it would all be computerized, really. I mean, this kit needs so many studs this length and so many studs this length and so many headers, and it would just pump them out. You could just bundle them up and you could ship them off, and it would be kind of fun to eventually, after this catches traction, have strategically placed locations, and franchise this out and give other people out there that are interested in having a business of their own an opportunity to, when an order comes in and it's within their region, it would ship out from there, and it would save people tons of money in shipping, and we could just ship these kits out to people for different styles of buildings, and they could just go to a website and choose the building that they want. And if they wanted to, they could just rent the aircrete machine that created a continuous flow of aircrete, and they could really DIY put up these buildings for themselves, or they could hire a contractor to do it. There would, it would all be drawn out and engineered, and it would just, once they got them all poured, it would just go together as an erector set. So that's just some things that I've been thinking about. We are going to go ahead and finish this project. We should be releasing the video tomorrow, putting this together. And the reason I mention that is because when we sew these panels together, I'm going to use two different types and ways of sewing them together, and just kind of get my viewers' input on what they think is best. So when I go to sew all the panels together on the shed, that that we do it the best way possible. But I just wanted to kind of let you guys know about what I was thinking and what I was doing. Let me go to another one. I want to open up another file, the base detail, just so that I can kind of explain what I was talking to about earlier on how the base detail would work on this other system. So instead of using that piece of angle iron and anchoring it in and whatnot, I had a viewer actually tell me, why don't you just use expansion anchors, every so often, and just put a piece of C-channel down. And actually, I think that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll just run a piece of C-channel along the top as well and sew them together. And I will have to do something, because these are not tongue and groove panels. The reason I did it this way, guys, is I just wanted to do a project with aircrete, and I wanted it to be DIY, and I wanted to do it out of stuff that was available to me. And the stuff that's available to me on the market are those roll-formed sheet metal studs, and so that's why I used them. Obviously, they don't have the tongue and grooves ones readily available. This is not something people can just go get. And it would be kind of fun to just come up with a system like that, where you could pump out a whole shed's worth of forms, all the right lengths and everything, and offer them to people. And I mean, we're talking maybe years down the road, but it'd be fun to just put up different locations throughout the United States that people were able to have one of those machines. And I want to build those machines. I want to experiment with it. It's not something that's outside the scope of my talent. So anyway, that being said, thanks guys. I hope you like what we're doing here. If you do, like, subscribe, click at the bottom, and I will talk to you guys later.